So after rhythms, it was on to lead guitars, which is always a crazy time.
Well, I guess we can talk about the grounding issue of this house.
Well, a downside of home recording is if you happen to be in a house with improper grounding and outlets, you can experience some very strange phenomena with your amplifiers.
Whether it be getting shocked, random ass sounds coming out of your amplifiers, just some awful things.
Just had to deal with the slog of technical issues just from living in this old ass house.
When we reached the point to getting to lead guitars, we kind of deemed that it wouldn't be possible to continue using the analog amplifier that we had originally intended and wanted to use for leads as well. But luckily we were prepared, and while we were recording rhythms, we got some Kemper profiles of that amp setup, and we were able to use those and tweak them to create what became the lead sounds. It's really just lucky that we had a good profile to start with, because that's something we've kind of learned along the way with the Kemper stuff, is the more you can get the sound in the initial profile and the less tweaking you have to do later kind of results in a better sound. Like you have all the parameters with the Kemper that you can adjust with like EQ and stuff, but it kind of starts to sound more digital the more that you tweak it. So if you can start with a really good platform and then just kind of do small adjustments, it'll typically work a little bit better.
Overall, it wasn't that different from the rhythm guitar tone making experience, but I'd say it was a lot more concise and well organized because of everything being in the box and because we had such a good, piece of gear like the fucking Kemper to do all the workhorse stuff.
Lead guitar tone, usually I want something that's a little bit rounder kind of sounding than a rhythm, a little less sharp, because I still like a little bit of that like super trebly high-end kind of stuff. So I usually add a little bit more bass, since you're really only doing like individual notes, and that kind of makes it a little bigger, and then add a little bit more top end just for some kind of shimmer. I'm pretty an effects light person. I don't really do a whole lot, just maybe a little bit of delay, some verb, and then a chorus is typically all I use for lead stuff. And that chorus also kind of helps with that kind of high-end, sparkly 80s-ness that I love so much. Because those are like my favorite lead guitar sounds, are those super cheesy like 80s. I love those. So I just want those, but a little bit less bombastic.
For most of the time, it was me tracking Cameron, and there really weren't any issues. It was just kind of a get things done, Overall, I mean, me and Cameron's tracking process has kind of been the same throughout the whole album process, where we don't have to necessarily worry about each other in a lot of it, and just get things done, Whoever is the focus and everything, the other person's assisting with it. And we just trade off in those roles.
It's always nice in real time to have someone oh yeah, I think I heard something right there that you may not have heard, while you were playing it.
So very much a typical recording process.
Yeah, with a lot of dick jokes in between.
So very much a typical recording process.
Sure.
What was the process of how you composed your leads for this record?
Yeah, the process. It's basically the way I've always done it, where I'll have the demos of the rough guitar and bass tracks, and then I'll just make a whole bunch of tracks in my DAW and record a different solo on each one of those tracks. In the DAW, I'll kind of piece things together and make melodies and stuff. And once I get somewhere kind of in the ballpark, I'll basically learn what that comp is, and then tweak any parts that need to change for transitions between sections. I always try to structure my solos kind of like mini songs within the song, where they have a beginning, middle, and end. It's kind of a flowing type thing. It's not just one thing over and over, or one vibe or anything like that. So that's how I do that.
Okay.
It really wasn't just a process of, okay, this lead is written. It would form over time, but it was something that was written overlaid on top of the rhythms and the general structure of the song most of the time. So that's why I say that Cameron's pretty thoughtful in how he constructs his lead ideas.
Because of the fact that he has such an expanded guitar vocabulary of sorts, he's able to just pick and choose the subtle things that really make his leads unique from other guitar players.
I kind of intentionally made a lot of the leads much more simplified on this album. Just because I've been doing the whole like super shreddy, wanky stuff for so long, I was like, I just don't really want to do it anymore. I wanted to focus a whole lot more on melody and composition.
Cameron definitely has a knowledge of restraint, and he has very good taste in lead, and he knows when he needs to hold back on the technical ability, because it's not about showcasing an individual player's technicality. It's about what sounds good in the song, which kind of plays into that cooperative element of things.
Well, I always grew up hearing that like the notes that you choose not to play are just as important, if not more important, than the notes you choose to play. And I really kind of took that to an extreme, I guess. I definitely want to keep it at least interesting, but I just, I didn't really feel like there was a whole lot of, like a really big part of me that wanted to just go super fast on this album. I just kind of wanted to vibe, man.
Yeah.
Just wanted to vibe.
Cameron is more like he's more like Beethoven or a scientist, where he's just like typing away. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Carry the 4. With Cameron, he thinks like a drummer anyways. He's played drums before. Already has drums in mind. Still gives me more than enough room to breathe as far as changing things up with drums, allowing me to compose whatever I want. He's always like, try doing this, and it'll just be like, tick 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 tick, and it's just perfect. And it's like, yeah, I guess I could go there, and then I kind of throw my own stank on it, and then boom, bam, done. Song's written.
Well, Cameron has all the leads. I have one. It sounds like an alien farting through a guitar. I mean, it was a unique process coming up with that one, because it was the first time where I wrote a lead, and I was like, well, I want the guys to write a piece of music around it. And it was a very interesting experience because I'm so used to the riff end of things, of being like, well, okay, I write the riff and then everything gets written around that. It's like, well, what if I write a lead and then the rhythms get written around that and the drums and all that? My leads tend to be pretty simple in nature. I'm more about like just a good kick-ass memorable melody to compensate, and I feel like I did that. Well, Cameron was the first person that I met when I put together this ragtag bunch of dudes. I appreciate how brotherly he is. He's a very warm person. He exudes this positive energy out of himself that you can't help but feel attracted to.
Cameron is, he is like an onion. He has many layers. That is no joke. But he is, he's a giant teddy bear. I know everyone says that about people, but he definitely is. Extremely caring person, very generous. Although you wouldn't necessarily always think it, because he can definitely be a prankster. But he's always there for you, and he's always got your back.
This whole process has kind of defined for me just how awesome of a guitar player he is, and really solidifies just how much I've enjoyed working with him. And he's one of the easiest people to work with. I would say that he's really what I want out of a guitar player in a band, or just a bandmate in general. It's always very fun to come up with ideas with Cameron. and to drink beer.
What is your impression of the leads on the record?
I at this point I'm still like really proud of them. I think they're pretty much exactly what I was kind of shooting for, as far as just like what I wanted to be technically and everything, and melodically. It's kind of the most, like I said, the most liberating kind of thing for me to be able to record, maybe other than vocals. But yeah, I think they're really cool, and tits and wieners.